Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!
Welcome to Flat Earth Debate. I'm your host, Nathan Oakley, and if you're new to this channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. If you would like to support this channel, there is a super chat that runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, and a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. But most importantly, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below this video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. You'll be warmly welcome back on the next stream. Please also share the show, as sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show. And one last time, if you are new to the channel or you have not done so already, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth Debate. Now we are joined by Arwin, Nummy and Sleeping Warrior. How are you all doing, gentlemen?
Great. How's it going?
Yeah, doing good. Guess what? It's sunny and blue outside again.
Been joined by Ranty as well. How you doing, Ranty?
How do? Yeah, all good. Are we actually live now?
Yes, we are indeed live. Please don't swear.
Right, I've not had a notification, funnily enough.
No, me neither.
Hmm.
So what have we got on screen, Arwin? Diffraction-induced optical slant giraffe.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, that's cleared that up.
We're not on yet, are we?
Well, I'm basically making a series, I think. I seem to be coming up with all these new animals that involve the whole flat Earth debate on both sides. And well, since Tim has been complaining so much about my optical slant, so I thought, yeah, you know what? A giraffe. It's a very long neck. So if any animal out there, if they in fact have good eyes, I am not too sure about that. Probably. Yeah, it will know. It will know that you definitely see the slant and it moves as you move your head. So I thought diffraction-induced optical slant giraffe.
Excellent. My favourite so far has been the presuppositional sphere hedgehog.
Yeah, it is the best. It's the cutest. Yeah, and I'm probably going to add a little bubble when it's saying, I'm a sphere, so the world must be a sphere.
Indeed. Love it. Oh, there you go. You got it up. I'll put it up. Presuppositional sphere hedgehog. Absolutely love it.
Yeah, it's cute.
I just watched this amazing video. It was some guy called Ranty who did a video yesterday on Nathan Oakley's channel.
Never heard of him.
Put a presentation together. It was absolutely fantastic.
It was good.
Did
I
you
mirrored
get
it. Did you see?
Sorry?
I snipped it out of yesterday's show and mirrored it on its own.
I haven't done yet, but I will.
No,
do.
I have.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I snipped out your presentation from
at the
yesterday.
comments in it as well. I mean, do you have to allow all the comments? I mean, is that your, you're just allowing everything to go? I mean, it's nothing about me. It's just something that they've said about your missus. I mean,
yeah, all comments. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be great if I was criticising Flat Earth Math for removing my comment. If I was just removing people's comments, it's disgusting. The comments are the pits. But so what? That's people that comment. That's not me.
Yeah, true. There comes a point though. At some point, there has to come a point when you say, "Okay, well, maybe you should try and expose these people."
I don't think
just
in comments though, right? I mean, they're exposing themselves in their comments for the most part.
it just makes them more encouraged.
I think that, the content of their comments is a documented record of their character and their credibility in the argument over time.
Straw man argument regurgitation cow. That's a new one.
Yeah, it's eating a straw man, and you know that cows regurgitate. So
I don't think we have anything to be afraid of from the comments. Is really the point, right? Like they're not. I don't think they're gonna change the momentum of the argument or the flat Earth, the growth of the flat Earth awareness through their trolley.
But don't you think that it stops certain people from commenting? So let's suppose you had somebody that was maybe wanting to leave a comment, but was frightened of doing so for getting the abuse that they would instantly get for making any kind of comment.
Yeah, that's why we have offer hangouts. Them same people then come in and we chat like normal. So publicly they might not comment, but privately we're all there together, so it's fine.
Well, it's the reality of the internet is that if you want to get involved, it's a dirty place, and if you can't stomach it, even on that level, then what can you do, right?
Yeah,
like
let me illustrate one of the examples of dirtiness in terms of this dirty place that we're in. You got Flat Earth Math that is literally ignoring the point that Nathan's making, which is, can you provide evidence of the R? He's literally obfuscating it with over excessive politeness because he's such a nice kind of guy, which is that's his style. That's fine. But then you've got Tim saying how great it is that he's back and how we're all horrible people. Yet he's one of the most disgusting people on the internet. Yet publicly, in his normal account, he's nice. But privately, he's one of the worst shills out there. He's one of the worst people for doxing, like literally causing all the problems on the troll accounts you can imagine. And that's down to him. And he's publicly giving this little aura of wonderfulness around him. And I'm thinking, yeah, you're disgusting.
So I believe you did a dioptra yesterday. I haven't actually seen your video, but I know the results because Nathan told me.
Yeah, it's flat as fuck, mate.
Was it 1.5 feet or something?
1.49 feet it was, and that was over 144 feet's worth of distance.
Really? That long?
Yeah, 144 feet, which is
yeah,
higher.
that was the only slight downside. I mean, it's good and it's bad because when you actually compare the two videos side by side, it's pretty clear that his actual observation was closer to the water than when he measured it at 144 feet. But all that would do is reduce the value from 1.5 feet down to, well, let's call it about 1 foot.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, you can, yeah, it's semantical arguing. I mean, yeah, it's nitpicking, but the point is, flat Earth maths, whatever, whichever you can argue it whichever way you want, but it's got to get near to 9 feet for flat Earth math. And at the end of the day, don't forget the bigger picture was we can see the floaty land from the Isle of Man from whatever observer height that turned out to be above water, whether it be 9 feet or 1 feet. It doesn't really make any difference. Let's not get distracted by the point at hand. We see an awful lot of land from the beach at an elevation of what? Call it 10, right? Let's call it 10 just for argument's sake. And none of that land is 700 feet behind the curve, right?
But look at it this way. When you say that you're trying to not get distracted for doing this, you still went away and you spent probably 1.5 hours setting up that experiment to prove that you was at 1.5 feet or 1 foot.
No. I spent that time to discredit flat Earth math, which was more important than disproving him. No, look, listen.
I know it's a semantical argument.
No. I wasn't trying to prove him wrong. I was discrediting him on his ability to apply maths and get a realistic.
Yeah, but this is what they do. They do things. They throw something like this, even if it was 9 feet or 90 feet. If you was 90 feet, you still wouldn't have seen it, right? So the point of the argument, whether it was 9 feet or 1 foot, it really was irrelevant. You know?
It's total red herring. You're absolutely right. But what it does do is gives us an opportunity to take a piece of land that literally only today Charles is saying, have a little guess, estimate the height, here's the tools to use, the horizon, and how many pixels a child is. That's what he's doing. And we're saying, no, it's been measured. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah.
And not only that, in measuring it, in actually performing the measurement, we can show that he has engineered 9 feet out of nothing.
Yeah. And the other thing to consider as well is that the way the sand gets deposited on the beach is different every single time. And a lot of it's governed by how fierce the tide comes in the time before. So the tide will come in fierce and all the sand will be higher up the beach. If it comes in gentle and it's been a gentle tide, then all the sand will be deposited at the bottom of the beach. And that'll change the contour slightly, but noticeably you'd be able to measure it. And that'll just change the perception. So, but the point is, the way the sand gets deposited on the beach is different every time.
Yeah. The point is also, it is important to expose flat Earth math his disingenuousness because he has a reputation of being, you know, a fair and kind of genuine, nice sort of guy, right? When in fact he's a covert sophist.
Yeah, he's like Ned Flanders,
There's
but
something
imagine
weird about him. I made some comments in his latest video where he replied to this, and I was pretty harsh. Like basically said, yeah, it was complete nonsense. But then he still replied, besides the trolls, and said, "Yeah, thank you for sticking up for me. It was very nice. But you can do these experiments yourselves." It's almost like he's in this weird toddler position or something.
yeah, it's called
Like he is willingly ignorant.
it's called the Ned Flanders effect. He's
It's
very
very
polite
weird.
at all
Yeah,
times.
a bit like Nat Flanner, indeed. It's very weird.
Yeah,
So he is a nice guy, but he seems just weird.
disingenuous.
I
No,
think-
not in disingenuous, just weird.
I think he's like polite to the point of passive aggression. Personally, I don't think it's genuine. I don't think he
Yeah,
really
could be.
gives a shit about any of us or anything like that.
No, he's definitely not passive aggressive. He's polite.
No, I know, but it's like politeness to us brought to a certain pitch almost becomes a kind of passive aggression, right? Like it
It's
becomes a
almost
kind of-
autistically polite.
yeah.
I think we're being a bit harsh on him. I think the guy's
No,
genuinely
no,
a nice
hey,
guy.
he's still a nice guy, but he's just
Full of shit.
weird.
No, I don't think he's a nice guy. I don't think it's a nice guy is like lying and being disingenuous like that, right? Like I think he's
polite.
using that to enhance his so apparent credibility, but it's just like who cares? Who cares if he's polite? We're arguing a point. We're arguing about a specific subject here. We're not trying to score brownie points with fucking being polite. Sorry, excuse me.
Just to address Twitwit in chat, she says, was your debunk video taken from the exact location of the original video? Of course it wasn't. The tide was in a different place. Tide's in a similar part of the beach, but I can't be exact with it because it's the height above water that's important. It's not the exact location of it. So the answer to your question is no, because the tide's in a different place.
Yeah, if people want to go back and find a bit of beach that's got this massive 9 foot of relief on it, then they're welcome to. You know, I've been across that beach. I've walked across it with my kids, flat as a pancake, the whole thing. So, you know, if someone wants to go down to that beach and just measure it the same way Anthony does and actually demonstrate that there's any relief beyond about a foot, which is what we've said or what Anthony said, then be our guest. Go down, get a measurement, show how it isn't a foot of relief. It's nonsense. It's flat as a pancake.
The thing is, if the tide comes in rough the tide before, then it'll be deposited high up at the beach. If it comes in gentle, it'll be deposited low down at the beach, and that will affect the way that the perception of tilt is appreciated. But on average, it'll be virtually flat. I mean, it's going to be, like I said, you can have a foot, but you certainly can't have 9 foot. But sometimes you'll get less than a foot. Sometimes you'll get more than a foot. It depends on how rough the tide was when it first came in. When the tide came in prior. But in any event, it's nowhere near 9 feet. So even if I was out, I mean, I'm happy to say, yeah, all right, then I was out by 6 inches over the 1.5 feet that I said. I said a foot. It turned out to be 1.5 feet. I don't mind being out by 6 inches over 140 feet. But to be out by 8 foot, 7.5 feet, when you've calculated it with maths, is more telling than me guessing it based on my perception at the time. So you guys have used all the maths and you've all basically held each other's willies in a circle while you all said, well, Flat Earth Maths has explained it with maths. And I'm like, yeah, but it's not real world. And that's the point. It isn't real world. Yeah, it might sound pretty with the maths. And I noticed that when he did do the maths on screen, he didn't actually do it at the right. He didn't do it at the horizon. He did it somewhere else other than the horizon, which looked like a cloud. Just look at it. Just look at the way he's done his maths. But in any event, yeah, just because it looks credible and it looks like it's good, don't make it real. That's the point.
And we can almost look at all this obfuscation as an admission of the fact that if what you say is true, that it was only 1.5 feet, that would not really be explainable according to their model.
No.
So they're avoiding dealing with the facts, right? Like they're just trying to say, oh no, it was higher elevation or something like that. But really it's just because they know that if they actually had to deal with the evidence that's before them, that they're not going to be able to say anything, or they're going to have to make up a whole new obfuscation tactic.
Let me address this. let me address this nonsense that that people are picking up on, which is the head being above or below the horizon. This is completely and utterly red herring, because that head being above the horizon is governed entirely by the proximity of the observer relative to the target. So, for example, if you have a child and an adult at the same distance away from you, the child's head will be below the horizon, then the adult's head will be above the horizon, right? But if you move that adult back further away towards the horizon, because the horizon is 34 miles away and it's not 3 miles away, he will disappear at a quicker rate while he disappears because he's close to you than the horizon. Then, and what he'll do is he'll start to shrink below the horizon because he's getting closer to the horizon, but he's getting smaller from an angular perspective point of view from you. So he will start to shrink as he gets towards the horizon, but overall his feet will start to rise to the horizon. But because he's close to you, he's going to shrink quicker than the rate that his feet rise towards the horizon because of perspective. So it depends on how close the proximal relationship is between you and the target. And if they're right on top of you, yeah, you can see that the children's heads can appear above the horizon as well. But as you move further back, that doesn't maintain to be true. It's to do with a proximal relationship between you and the target, and that target's height relative to you. So it's to do with proximity. It's not to do with this maths nonsense that Maths was talking about. It's ridiculous.
Right.
You guys see my screen? The sunset thing.
Yes.
What would you describe the sun as doing right now?
I would say Watson. Oh, hang on.
Wow, yeah, that really looks like it's...
Oh, you mean the changing of the angular size? But you've not got a sun filter on, man.
So would you say that sun there is the same size as that sun there?
It's just the glare, man.
Just the glare.
Put a sun filter on it, it's the same.
Okay, just to get that clear. I was just misunderstanding. Hey Josh, how you doing? Can you hear us, Josh?
He's gone. Was he kicked?
Hello.
He was kicked.
He was kicked. Why? It's Josh.
Yeah, but you got to be careful, Nate, because we just don't know who they are at the minute. Unless they speak up the minute they join, so that we know that, because we can tell whose voices they are, right?
He was in the chat saying, I suppose you don't know if it's a real Joshua. Could be a fake one.
Hey, I got a new one.
Flat question says, Sleeping Warrior, show these two still side by side and tell us which one is further away from the waterline and which one is nearer. 1.54 in the new and 416 in the... I need to overlay it. I'll get Geo... Tell you what, flat questions. Ask GeoStreamer to overlay it and make a GIF out of it. Sure, he'd happily oblige. I'm not going to bother doing that because it won't be considered to be... You need to get a ball earther to do that and then let them challenge it that way, because if I do it, I'll have done something wrong. So no is the answer. Not because I don't want to do it, but I think it's a ball earther surgeon to make, not a flat earther debunk himself on.
That was the real Josh. Sorry, Josh, you got booted for just not saying hello quick enough. Sorry.
How do you know it was the real Josh?
Witwit presumably clicked on his icon and checked it was him, but she assures us it was the real Josh.
I don't know how Twitwit would know that was the real Josh.
You're really muffled, by the way, Anthony. I don't know what you've done with your mic, but it's gone from being quite good to being pretty naff for most of the show.
Is that any better?
Yeah.
I had it off axis.
Yeah, it just wasn't really picking you up. It was all muffled.
Oh, yeah. So Lenny Harry says, just bad camera work, but Lily knows all about bad camera work. Yeah, well, I'll tell you something. Go and get a P900, zoom in on anything, and then you try and keep it still, even on a tripod. Ranty uses a tripod. Granted, it's not the best tripod in the world, and I'm sure he's the first to admit it, but it looks like he's freestyling it, and he's not. He's on a tripod. You try and get a P900 and zoom right in on something and try and keep it still. You can feel the blood in your fingers that are altering what's going on, so I don't accept any of the criticisms against the quality of the camera. I think the quality of the camera works fantastic.
I bet I could do it by hand. I wouldn't even need a tripod.
Is that because you're so smooth?
Yeah, just because I'm basically ace.
He's got gyroscopes in his fingertip.
Yeah, man. How difficult can it be?
Oh,
Sorry,
listen,
I'm being so facetious. I know how difficult it is. Massive credit to you two, because I know actually how difficult it is, and it is incredibly hard. You're right. Getting those sorts of shots is hard. You know, otherwise there'd be loads of them.
You need a gyroscopic stabilization system to actually really steady out those extremely distant telephoto shots.
Yeah, and I'm not prepared to buy a 300 quid tripod for a flat earth thing.
What
And I'm
you're
not going to do
seeing
what Sean does, which is crowdfund it, because it's like
when you see the pan that Anthony does, when it jumps, what you're actually seeing is the blood pulsing through his fingers as he holds the tripod. That's what you're actually seeing happen.
generally, yeah. If it's on the
What
tripod.
you're also forgetting as well is when every time you zoom in further, the camera is getting longer, so the weight is being pushed to the front of the camera. So as it extends, it's like one of those old telescopes, you know, that they used to have on boats. You know, you can sort of like pull them apart. Used to be in 3 levers. Well, that's just how the P900 works. It's quite compact, but when the actual zoom lens is pushing itself out, all that weight is going to the front of the camera, so it's pulling it down.
Yeah. The center of mass changes as the thing elongates.
Yeah. I mean, so it is quite difficult to try and you know, get a nice steady image to start with. But once you've got it in, it's all right. I think Anthony's did all right looking across that horizon.
To be honest, I mean, you got someone in chat now saying buying cheap equipment and getting cheap results. Well, put it this way, it's not cheap equipment. They're like 500 quid, a P900. And even if it was considered to be cheap results or rubbish results, it's better than what you can do. So if you think you can do any better, go and get some flat Earth evidence, some ball Earth evidence, and show us that curve, man. Because we're all trying to do it, and none of us are getting any of that curve. So how hard is it really? When it should be, it is. This is the thing that ball Earthers forget, right? They argue that the size of the Earth is so big that you can't see any curvature, yet boats seem to go over the horizon and prove curve. Well, if boats are going over the horizon, then we can see this curve, right? And nobody seems to be doing it. So why is that? Is it weird refraction all the time? It just happens to be perfect every time a flat earther goes out? Or is it just not curved and we're not seeing this repeatable, observable, demonstrable 8 inches per mile squared? And it appears to be that everybody's doing it.
No, Lenny's just put, yes, it is cheap. No, talk is cheap, Lenny. Because all you guys do is just talk. You've got a keyboard and you just chatter away. Whereas guys like myself, Anthony, and all the other people that are going out and doing independent research with a P900, they've put money into it, they've put time into it, they've put effort into it. Whereas you guys just sit there and tap away on your keyboard thinking that you're some kind of hero. Well, you're not.
Right, so Ranty, Dr. Wah is trying to get back in. So don't kick him out straight away.
Okay.
Make sure you speak, Josh, if you do join, because that is the most important thing. Because although then again, I'm saying that Matt Taylor's out doing his paper round at the moment, so he's not likely to be back yet. Oh no, he'll be back now. It's 2:00.
Hey Nathan, can you present me for a second? Got something new.
What's this? Let's have a look. Scientific consensus dogmatism donkey. That's good. That's great. Love it.
That's Mark Taylor.
Yeah, probably sounds like him too.
Handsome lad. Handsome donkey.
Guy sounds like drool.
The funny thing is, there you got Lenny Henry that claims that oh yeah, it's cheap kit, this, that, and the other, and then he said his comment is, oh, Alan B's in.
Hello, boys.
Wow, you're loud.
Hola.
Hello, Alan.
Anybody got an ice cream?
If you've got 2 ice creams.
Yeah, I do, actually.
Yeah, so he says it is cheap photography equipment. A decent prime lens, a decent prime tele lens is $1,000 plus. You bunch of goofs. Yeah, and if
If you want to tell you what, why don't they go and spend £1,000 and do it?
Well, hang on, I've got like an 1800 quid prime lens telephoto lens, right? And the picture quality is fantastic. When it comes to zoom, it's ridiculous.
Tony,
So
Tony,
yeah,
bit of a mistake there. Prime lenses don't have zoom on.
I've got 4 or 5 lenses that have all got different levels of zoom on them, and they're all considered to be telephotographic, and they're all considered.
Well, by definition, that's not a prime lens. A prime
Well,
lens.
No,
is
he's saying he's got different lenses of different lengths zoom. So he's not saying that they zoom.
He called them a prime lens.
I didn't. Lenny did. Lenny's called them. He said a decent prime tele lens. So he's saying that it's a decent prime tele lens.
That's incorrect.
Well, his point is that they're £1,000 plus, and I've got numerous ones. None of them are as any good as the P900. So you either spend thousands on lenses that are great at what they do, but not be very good at telephotos, or you get a P900 that smashes all the other lenses that I've come across.
Hasn't your wife got a few nickels?
Yeah, she's got a few of them. Yeah, she got spent a lot of money on camera photography equipment.
Well, surely the 150 to 600 mil is better than the P900.
No, nowhere near. It's a quarter of it. The picture quality is better and the resolution's better, but the zoom is nowhere near as good. So it's not Matt Taylor's fault that I'm poor and has cheap equipment or get poor results. You don't know what a prime lens is, you idiot. Well, I was quoting what you'd said. It was Alan B that corrected you, thinking it was me.
You're talking to your mic.
I'm just telling you what you said.
You're off axis again. Hello, Josh. Good to have you. Can you hear us?
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello.
Oh, I made it in.
Yeah, you're
Hi,
in.
Nathan.
Hello.
Tiny sense of Lenny. Tiny.
Bit quiet, but...
Oh, sorry, quiet.
No, I can sort that, don't worry.
Copy that.
You sound like an Australian or a New Zealander.
No, I am, Anthony. I am an Australian. And actually, you may remember me. Last time I came on, I wanted to talk about bombs and war and the way that man's been engineering horrible weapons to hurt each other. But
I do remember, yeah.
This time, I'm just going to ask this kind of simple thing. This simple thing to everyone there is that if you had a special favorite chair, just a favorite chair that you could sit down on and look at the stars at night. So you're just sitting in your favorite chair at your favorite house and you just look at the stars. Did you know that every single year, when a whole year passes, it's going to be exactly the same, what you're looking at?
Yep.
Well, technically, on the heliocentric model, it's not exactly the same.
Well, no. Let's talk about what the eye can even really differentiate. Like, like if you've got like a thing on your house, like an ornament or something dangling off the roof, and there was a star right next to it, a year later, that we all agree that we're going to be looking at the same sky, right?
Yeah, I agree.
And does that happen everywhere on Earth?
I don't know.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah, it does.
Okay, cool. Well, I guess that's kind of my gotcha, because you all just proved a spherical Earth.
How so?
It would take 24,000 years to get back to the same place on the great year cycle, right?
What?
That's just like, I want this guy to explain exactly how he comes to the logical conclusion from that observation that we must be on a globe. Because you're just saying like, oh, we see that, so therefore it's a globe. But can you actually explain all the logical deductions? Or
I think I know what this is.
Yeah, I know, but let's let him say it.
I think it's this.
Sure. I don't know how you've got me, because I've already just got you, so it's all good.
I'm not claiming to get. I'm not saying it.
Well, okay. Next backup question then. So if you guys think that
Sorry, Josh, just bear with us a second. So what he's asking you, Josh, is to go through the example again and explain how you've drawn the conclusion from your example using the stars and their year-long cycle, how you come to the conclusion that we're on a sphere based on that information.
You're acting like it's obvious or something, but I just want you to explain how it is that those observations definitively prove that
in the alternative, if I just say, well, you've just proved a flat plane, how would you prove that it's not flat and it's spherical on the basis of what you just said?
But you guys know that you can't from like the equator. That's where you stop seeing Polaris. You know that that's a fact, right?
That's not true. There's evidence that says that you can see Polaris as far down south as the Tropic of Capricorn.
Oh,
Right.
come on, Anthony. Like, show me that.
Sorry,
evidence,
do you really
please.
think that, Josh, that you can stop seeing Polaris at the equator?
Yeah.
Have you actually done it?
Well, no, but I'm in the southern hemisphere now.
No, I've
and
done it.
I can't
You can
see
still see Polaris at the equator. Did you not know that?
Like,
Polaris can be seen below the equator. It's not
could you
meant to.
please show me? Could you please just back up?
Yeah, I
that
don't want
statement,
to.
Anthony?
What I'm asking is, were you
see
unaware of
Polaris
this? And the
below
answer is
the equator.
yes.
Can you show
You've
me
not
that?
checked it. You're just asserting it like you get to the equator and you can't see Polaris anymore.
Well, hang on. I'm not saying it now. Now we've gone over to Anthony. He just said that he can see it at the Tropic of Capricorn. Please show all the audience that data, Anthony.
Why don't you show it that you can see it?
Well, it's actually more Anthony's claim to make that. Sorry, troll attack. It's more Anthony's assertion, but we're getting past the assertion that you made to begin with, which is that it in any way proves you're on a sphere, Josh. So that's what Nummy asked you to sort of take us through the steps of. He's not trying to get you. He's just trying to say, how do you draw that conclusion from what you've said? Now we're into debating whether or not you can see Polaris, which is kind of off on a sidetrack.
Yeah, like you've claimed to have made some kind of point, right? But you've skipped over the actual argument part.
Yeah.
I think you'll find Anthony made the claim there.
No.
No.
I asked, how was it you managed to say that we live in a ball? If I said that the Earth's flat and you just proved it, but he's saying that the Earth's a ball and we've just proved it, how do you distinguish between the two models?
This is why I didn't want to get too ahead of this. I mean, this guy has made an assertion, but he hasn't explained his argument, his logic, the logic of how he reached his conclusion, right?
Well, I can pretty much fill that in. That is
No,
what
no,
they all
no,
do. They
no,
all
no,
do
no,
the
Josh
same
do
thing.
it. Hold on, Arwen.
That-
We
all
want to
the
hear
story-
Josh. Hold
Arwen-
on,
and,
Arwen. Josh was the one who made the assertion, so we want to hear Josh explain it.
All right.
Come on, Josh, explain it.
Whenever you're ready, Josh.
He's muted for some reason, and
Yes, no, sorry about that. Jamie Dreary keeps muting me. I don't know who that is.
yeah, he's a troll.
Copy that.
We're kicking him out.
Sorry, I'll get back to what I said, but just quickly, Anthony did make the assertion that you can see
No,
Polaris
just
from
get back to what
the
you
Tropic of Capricorn.
No. Let's
And-
just go back to what you said first, okay? Because we don't want to get everything all mixed up here, and we'll deal with that
No,
after.
hey, I'm not mixed up. I just know that Anthony said you can see Polaris on the Tropic of Capricorn.
But it makes no
I'll go
difference
back to
to
my
the
But you
proof,
said that
so
it proves that we live on a
what we're
sphere.
interested in is hearing how you prove what you've got to prove. And in this instance, you're saying that this observation proves a sphere, and I want to know how you come to that conclusion, same as Nummy.
Yep. I'm on it. Really, if you just give me a moment, I'm on it. So we just had an admission from all of you guys that if you were sitting in your comfiest chair and you looked out, every year you would see the same stars, and that happens all over the Earth.
Yeah.
And that means
Well,
geometrically that it is a sphere.
But saying geometrically, that's a presupposition. So you're saying, so long as we accept that it's a sphere, then that proves it's a sphere. That is the definition of a presuppositional argument.
And I'll say,
No. What it is
Yeah.
that because what you've just claimed by saying that you're in the chair seeing the same stars, that means what you're actually saying, and maybe I've got another gotcha here, but that means that you can use those stars to triangulate where that chair is. So that's the way sailors have been sailing around the world for years, is using the stars to pinpoint where they are on the planet.
Okay.
They use the angular relations.
Okay, so how do you get from there to being on a sphere? You're
You're
muted
muted
again,
again.
Josh. Sorry.
Sorry, there's another guy. There's Bob.
Yeah,
Bob,
it's the
Bob-
same. It's the same guy.
The troll.
Bobby.
So how do you get from that observation in your chair, seeing that the stars go round cyclically, how do you draw the conclusion that you're on a sphere from that? Or navigation?
Well, because Nathan, those stars, where they are, they triangulate your position.
Yeah, I got that.
And right now, Yeah, well, right now, I'm in the southern hemisphere, and you and I can
But
see
that's a
completely
presupposition.
different stars,
So
Nathan.
you're saying I'm in the
different
southern hemisphere. That's a presupposition. So you're already saying to me I'm on the bottom of a sphere before you give your example. So that's called a presupposition.
Well, okay, sure. I see a completely different night sky to you. But as both of us approach the equator, the stars will actually get the same until we meet in the middle, and then we're both seeing the same stars.
Okay, so if I'm in a corridor in a hotel, right, and the corridor is 3 miles long, and all the way along it are lights of very slightly different colours going all the way down the spectrum from blue to red. As I walk down that corridor, I will see different lights that are in the distance and beyond my view initially when I get to that end of that corridor. And if you're walking in the opposite direction along that corridor, you'll have the exact same effect. It in absolutely no way defines the floor of the corridor.
That was a pretty bad example, Nathan, because you started out with a presupposition that the corridor was flat.
Well, do you know what a corridor is? Have you ever been in a corridor?
Hang on a minute.
Yeah, but do you know what a presupposition is? Because you just presupposed that the corridor was flat. That was the first thing you said, that we're on a flat.
Yeah, I'm describing the same effect by pointing out that it doesn't actually prove we're on a sphere. So I've given the converse example and had the same light effect in the sky replicated. So it in no way defines the ground, your example or my example.
Well, yeah, no, it doesn't need to define the ground because we're on the ground.
It does. You're saying it proves we're on a sphere if I sit in my really comfy chair, right? And I look up at the stars and I can triangulate my position, and people have used them for navigation. Then we're trying to get to the bit between there and the sphere bit, but we haven't got there yet.
Well, I guess you haven't got there yet, but
Oh, well, you just presuppose it. So you say, I'm in the southern hemisphere. So you are working under a presupposition that you're already on a sphere, Josh. Do you understand that? Well, clearly you don't understand that when you're literally saying to me that you're in the southern hemisphere.
I got muted again.
It's the same guy. It's going to be the same guy. He's muting you, so just...
He's desperate. He desperately doesn't want you to reveal that your argument is presuppositional.
Well, hang on, but Nathan's counter-argument was presuppositional that we're in a corridor.
And the complete opposite of your presuppositional argument, using the same light show in the sky.
But his argument is not actually presuppositional because he's just giving an example, right? Like, that isn't making an assumption about the shape of the Earth, say, as a fact. So it's not really a presuppositional argument.
If he tells you that the corridor is flat, that's actually a statement of fact, not a presupposition.
My point was I can achieve the same light display.
But you actually can't, Nathan. You just said that we were walking towards each other on a flat corridor. That's got nothing to do with what we actually see out of it. If you were to walk outside right now, and I were to walk outside right now, we can see a completely different set of stars.
Not really.
Well, you probably don't because you're in the daytime, right?
We can see Orion, and you can see Orion. That's not true.
You can't see stars in the daytime.
No, we barely ever see Orion down here.
Orion. So can we. You muted again, by the way.
Yeah, this is what it boils down to now. Rather than muting us, it's muting the people that make the ball Earth look bad, as they make terrible arguments for the ball Earth.
Sorry, I got muted again. I got to keep on top of this. Anthony, why would you pick Orion, which we know is on the east-west kind of vibe of our planet? Why would you not use, say, the Southern Cross and Polaris?
So you said planet again. So that would be, again, you inserting a presupposition.
Why would you not use a Southern Cross? Do you understand that as a train goes far enough away from you, eventually it goes that close to the horizon and it disappears what you would call behind the curve, but what I would say is out of a proximal relationship to you, and you can no longer see it again because it's too small, it's too far away. Why would you expect me to be able to see Southern Cross from England?
Well, I would expect that you can't see it because it's underneath the planet is in the way.
Right, that's another presupposition that we're on a planet, isn't it? Because in no way between the star observation and you saying because it's underneath the planet Has there been any evidence whatsoever that suggests that to be the case? You just insert it as a presupposition.
Yeah, you don't know that they are even physical objects. You have no proof of this. There's a light show.
Oh, Arwen, don't even
There's a
do
light
it.
show. There's a
Sure.
specific angular
Arwen, do you
pattern.
remember this? Well, you were from the
I've read
Netherlands,
it
right?
many,
Do you remember
many
this?
times.
Twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are.
Yeah.
That's like a rhyme you learn in like primary school. And that's you right now. You're primary school.
Yeah, you know how in
Sorry, is this really
you know
gonna
how in that little riddle they actually don't give you the answer?
That's
Do you
true.
think
Why
that
would
was
that be?
because-
Why would
do you
that
think
be?
that's twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. Oh, it's
Yeah.
a burning ball of hydrogen.
What's the rest
you
of the
know, like,
line?
it's-
Sorry,
No,
he
but-
just added on to that twinkle twinkle rhyme. He just added up that it was a burning light, right? That's what he just added into that nursery rhyme.
Yeah. Do you have any evidence?
I-
Do you have any evidence that a star is a burning ball of hydrogen?
Hey, it doesn't matter. Do you know what I truly believe?
of course
That
it
they are
does.
all Simba's souls and Simba's brethren's souls. Every star out there is a lion that used to be a king.
I'll buy that as much as I'll buy that they're a burning ball of hydrogen, equally as likely as far as I'm concerned.
There you go. But see, what you guys aren't recognizing is that this was the first question I asked you. And what was the first question that I asked you that you all actually agreed to, including you, Arwen?
Yeah, but do you understand that the answer
No,
to that
please
is
just say it. If you were sitting on a chair, that once a year you would see the same set of stars. You
We're happy with
all
that.
Because
agree
there
to
is
that.
a
We all
very
agree
well
with it.
defined angular relations of the star patterns and all the heavenly bodies.
So, Arwen,
There
it doesn't
is
matter what they are.
physicality.
If
There
there's
is
a
no
heavily
proof
defined
of
angular relation.
physicality. There is
Josh.
no proof of physicality. How many
Josh.
times do I need to repeat myself here?
let me
Arwen,
ask
you
a few questions,
agreed
Josh.
that it doesn't matter what they are, but they always have the same angular relationship, whatever
Yes,
that means.
exactly.
You agreed to that.
Yeah,
So
that is
why
how
are you
astronomy is
arguing that it
that
matters
is how
what
they navigate through
Josh.
the map of the stars.
That's exactly what I'm
Yeah,
saying, Arwen.
It doesn't mean it's physical. Doesn't mean it's a physical object, that it's literally a round thing over a round globe. You can make that work on a flat Earth just as well.
And we
Go
have
on then, Arwen. I dare you and I challenge you to make the stars work on a flat Earth.
But it doesn't
yeah.
matter if he can or he can't. He doesn't need his own just so story to pummel the living daylights out of your presupposition. And so far, we've had you sit in your chair, you look at the lights, and then you basically just decide you're on a globe and the stuff goes underneath you. Well, that's garbage. He doesn't have to come up with an explanation for how they work to make your explanation look rubbish.
No, but Nathan, you know you have to at some point, right? Like, you can keep taking long-distance photography
No,
for
you don't.
years to come.
No,
But-
you don't. You don't have to come up with a just so story. That's not necessary. Totally superfluous to requirements, in fact. Just so stories are the reason we're in the situation we're in right now, with people like yourself using arguments about the stars and simply presupposing they're on a ball.
And
We
that's
don't
called
need a-
scientism.
We don't need
What?
a model. A
That's
model's
called
a religion.
scientism.
We don't need a model. A model is a religion. It doesn't
What's
help.
funny is that you flat earthers, you actually don't have any imagination.
Oh,
You've got a lot
Sorry,
of imagination.
not-
You
have
don't
you-
know
have
what
you
a
seen
star
my
is.
model?
Is that really what this comes down to? How much imagination we have? That's the problem that I'm looking at. That somebody somewhere has imagined the world that we live in and then come up with the mathematics to support their imagination. And you buy the mathematics completely. Well, I'm not interested in mathematics and just so stories. Imagination's got nothing to do with it when you're testing cause and effect relationships. That's got sod all to do with imagination, I'm afraid. Fairy tales, basically.
So does anyone here acknowledge the existence of the Southern Cross?
Yeah.
Yes.
And the fact that you can't see it from anywhere above, or in your language, the interior of the equator.
No, that's not true. You can see the Southern Cross.
Anthony, sorry, back to where you were. Please provide the evidence you can see Polaris from the Tropic of Capricorn.
Right, even on your model, would you agree that if the Southern Cross was is it 60 degrees? Forgive me, it might be 70, but the Southern Cross is either 60 or 70 degrees, right? You wouldn't on your model be expected to not see it beyond the equator. you would expect to see it beyond the equator because you're not at the South Pole, correct?
We're talking about. Oh, sorry, I was talking about your claim before, your assertion before about Polaris being seen from the
No, you
Tropic
weren't.
of Capricorn.
You were just asking me why would you expect to see the Southern Cross above the equator, but on your model you would, because it's not at the South Pole, correct?
Yeah, you're right, but
Right. So then you
your
can retract your
exact
previous
reasoning-
statement then.
Sure, you win, Anthony, but your
Right.
exact reasoning is my question to you. Could you please provide the evidence that someone has seen Polaris at the Tropic of Capricorn?
All right, so I'm sure there's numerous flat earthers out there right now. Let's all find this information for the retard that has no evidence for his assertion in the first place, other than a presupposition. Let's find the references from navigational
We're on a
people
red herring
that claim that-
chase to
Why do you
nothing.
have to-
None of what we will find proof of the sphericity of Earth or Earth's flatness. Whereas the whole point of this conversation, the starting point, was Josh asserting that you look at the stars and decide you're on a sphere.
Yeah, it kind of sounded the same, like dropping a mic and then say disproves gravitational
Right.
pull.
You still haven't explained how you got there.
Exactly. You're
So-
still struggling to
no,
understand
wait,
how you look at the stars
Nathan,
and come to the conclusion you're on a
Nathan,
sphere, Josh.
Nathan, I know that you've seen that video that I did years ago, trying to figure out how the southern stars can work on a flat Earth. I tried. I was a flat earther for, I reckon, about a week, and I tried so hard. I thought it was the coolest, but it's impossible. And if you guys don't actually get that, then I guess you'll just never get it.
Just because you failed to model it doesn't make it impossible, number one. And number two, it absolutely doesn't make it a sphere.
Makes
Yeah,
the
but
globe of the heavens.
What I'm saying is
think
that at
it's a
some
week
point
long
you guys are
project.
going to have to figure this out. You can't
Yeah,
just keep
maybe.
taking long distance
We want to
photos.
figure it out,
Maybe.
but we don't really have the resources to do it.
Right.
But what do you
The
need?
first problem, Josh, is that we have the whole body of science behind a nonsense just so story, and everybody backs it with presupposition. So the first step to correcting that is to topple that. In other words, prove that it's wrong, prove that it's incorrect. And we don't need just so stories in order to prove where the heliocentric system does not work. We just have to prove it incorrect. Eventually, with a bit of luck, we might get science on our side. Then, yeah, maybe with 2,000 years, we'll do a bit better than a just so story.
And we've already proved that their model is not consistent internally, that there's logical inconsistencies within the model that's been presented to us. So in other words, we've already debunked the model as it's been presented by conventional science.
To be
So
fair,
you-
though, you've only
could
proved
you
that in
name
your
one?
mind.
What?
To be fair,
Could you-
though,
could you
Numpty,
name
you've only
one?
proved that in your mind. No,
Well, whose mind am I supposed to prove it in?
well, you've got no evidence, and you've got nothing. All you do is
That's
insult.
not true. What I'm saying is that I've compared the evidence that's been presented and
No,
shown
you haven't.
it's not logically consistent.
No, you haven't. You just
Yes,
insult.
I have.
them. They're wrong.
That's what I've been doing for the last 3 weeks, every day on this show.
Could you
Yes.
just say one, Nummy? Well, what's your one thing that doesn't work?
Well, for one, there is no evidence of there's no evidence that the Earth is rotating, and there's no evidence that the atmosphere is rotating with the Earth as it would have to be in order for what we see around us to make any kind of sense. And there's no viable physical mechanism that's describable that would explain how the cause of the atmosphere rotating supposedly with the Earth.
The
So we
fact
know-
that-
And at the same time, there is a mechanism that actually proves the opposite. It's called
Yeah,
the
and there's a
gyroscope.
total lack of observational Coriolis effect, which would
a vacuum existing next to a pressurized environment without a membrane.
this is the really strong evidence that completely blows the model that we've been presented with clean out of the water. Like
Hey,
They have no-
Anthony, I don't think you should talk until you come up with proof that you can see Polaris from the Tropic of Capricorn.
It
Well,
makes
you
no
asked me-
difference to the shape of the Earth beneath your feet. This star observation proves nothing. So let's say Anthony's got it completely wrong. It makes absolutely no difference to your assertion that you can look at the stars and come to the conclusion you're on a sphere, which you can't.
You have no proof of their physicality. You have no proof other than angular relations in relation to the position of the Earth, whatever the shape may be, and that is all you got.
Josh,
Alan.
Arwin believes
Alan.
the sun, the moon, and the stars are projections.
No, I wouldn't call them projections. I would call them holographic, light-based, non-physical, literal.
Yeah, but Arwen, let's just be clear. Like, you don't believe that. That's just an idea that you think is possible, right? You're not dogmatically attached to that idea. That's just something that you consider to be a possibility.
I am above 90% sure that they are non-physical in
But you're
nature.
not 100%
Whatever we get to see, there may be some kind of reflective origin that's suggested as a causal relation. But other
you're
than
not
that, what we
saying-
actually see is absolutely non-physical. I'm
But
pretty
you're
damn
not
certain
claiming
of it.
it's a fact, right? You're still open to the idea that there's something else could be.
Well, there should be something causing it. I don't know what it is, but what
Yeah,
we
I know, but
actually
what I'm
see,
saying is that you're
the-
not saying
the
you're
cause of us seeing it is not it
you're not
being
dealing with-
physical.
You see that, Arwin? You see that, Arwin? Numpty's trying to silence you.
No, I'm not. Go on. Keep talking, Arwen.
No,
Yeah, but Arwen,
Made
do
my
you
statement.
not hear the contradiction in what you're saying? You're contradicting yourself. You're saying that they are angular, and you can find the exact spots of where they are, and they can triangulate to the chair, to your comfy chair, once a year. But,
No, but
that's not enough.
No, they
No,
don't.
but no.
Triangulation is a wrong application. You can
In
just
order
get the angular relations, but actual triangulations require either a size or an exact distance, and you need confirmation of that. Otherwise,
But-
you only
No, no, no,
have
no.
deductions based on the angular relation.
More
But
important.
Arwen,
No.
Arwen,
With the
so simple. If
presupposition
you're-
of the
Josh.
shape of the Earth.
No,
That-
before you go
Arwen, so
on,
simply,
No,
if you're sitting in
Josh,
your
you-
chair,
Nami, stop talking through me, man.
I'm not talking through you.
Yeah,
I'm
you
trying
are.
to
I was explaining and you started talking through me. It's very
Okay.
annoying.
Sorry. But Josh, I just wanted to say that when you're making these triangulations, you are going to have to assume whether the Earth, what the shape of the Earth is in order to make the triangulation. Like you're not going to.
No, I don't. I'm literally just saying that if you're sitting in your comfy chair, every time in the year, if you just pick two stars and you point one finger at one star and the other finger at another star, that will happen at the exact same time a year later.
Yeah, but that's not triangulation.
I just made a triangle. How is that not
Yeah,
triangulation?
there's more to a triangulation than making a triangle. And I
You
just
know what I-
explained it to you. You have to have a literal size or a literal distance. Otherwise, you're just going to compare angular relations
Correct.
with a presumption, a presupposition of the shape of the Earth.
Hey,
all you
Arwen,
can
what do you
do.
think? What do you think an angular relationship to do with a triangle is shortened down to in the English language?
A scale.
Well, when you have an actual confirmation of the size or the distance, so
How
you have
about
an
a
exact thing,
triangulation?
then it works on the Earth because you can actually confirm the real size or the distance. Then you can get real triangulation. But if you're going to do it with a heavenly body,
Okay,
then you
so
have
just,
to do a presumption.
okay, sure,
Otherwise,
Arwen. So just
you're just
quickly,
guessing.
are you going back on what you said earlier about sitting in the chair and seeing the same stars at the same time? Yeah,
No, I'm not. I'm just
reverting
giving
back.
a more elaborate explanation as to what it is you're doing.
So you're saying that if you pointed one of your left hand, you pointed at a star, your right hand, you
I
pointed
get
at
it.
another
They're at the
star.
same position. Apparent position, by the way. They're at the same angular position every time.
But that's not
There's an
enough.
angular consistency with the heavenly bodies and the position of the Earth and the time span.
Right.
That's
Well
not
established.
triangulation. That's not what triangulation entails. What
Yeah,
you're
triangulation is about literal sizes, positions. That is what triangulation really is about.
You don't think triangulation is making a triangle?
It
It's
is,
about
but
knowing the distance and knowing the shape or the one of the angle, one of the distances between your 2 points, which you would put on a ball, right? But then if you do the same set of math,
Yes, that's how.
Yeah, all of you're just saying all that stuff. I'm just saying making a triangle. Your one point of the triangle, one star, the other star, the other 2 points of the triangle.
Yeah, but
You've
you
just
don't
made a
know the
triangle.
literal distance.
Yeah,
So
that's
how
right.
do you even know what
You don't know the
one
distance.
point of the triangle really is? You don't know because you're assuming it's in a literal
I'm not
position.
assuming, Arwen, I'm making a triangle. I'm not talking about distance. I never
let
said
me ask
distance.
Let me ask you, when you make your triangle, right, and you're going to pick, say, for example, Sydney and Canberra, and then you look at a star and you get your two angles between.
Why? Now you're just making that up. I'm trying to talk about sitting in a comfy chair looking at 2 stars. That's it. No other places on the planet.
You
All
cannot
right.
do a triangulation from such a position. You'd have to move your chair somewhere else.
Right, let me ask you 2 questions. Do you know what the? I'm probably going to butcher the name of this, and someone can correct me. But do you know what the
Sigma octantis.
No. Do you know what the
No.
Antikythera machine is?
The anti what?
The Antikythera machine.
No, go on.
It's a mechanical construct that is representing all of the main celestial bodies, so like the planets, moon, anything that floats around in the sky. Not specifically the stars, but the planets and the sun and the movements of the celestial bodies. But it's done
So you mean like old school Stellarium?
No, I mean like cogs, a clock, like a clock.
Well, yeah, old school Stellarium.
Okay, you can call it that if you wish. But do you understand that if you can make a mechanical construct and you make it from a flat plane perspective, then that would also be an explanation for why the stars could actually be A, flat, and B, we can see them on a flat plane because the Antikythera machine works. Do you understand that?
Yeah, but you just said if, and I've heard you go on and on about if you've had 2 bananas and you ate a banana, how many something. If I made a construct that modeled it absolutely, would it be a model? Yeah, it would. But you just said if, and
Right.
you got to do the
alternative.
do. You got to make the model.
You're arguing it from an alternative perspective, but making the same point. Yet the Antikythera machine proves that it can be done on a flat plane and mechanical. So if your position is that it therefore is a ball, well, there is evidence that shows that it can be interpreted and demonstrated on a plane using a clock.
Anthony, now we're at 2 things that you've just asserted that you now need to prove somehow. You've asserted that you can see Polaris from the Tropic of Capricorn, and you've asserted that there is a machine out there somewhere, something anti-Catherian machine that can map the way the southern stars work.
I didn't say the stars.
Across the flat plane.
I wish we didn't bring up the Antikythera machine into this, because what I'm going to assert, Josh, is that you don't understand what triangulation is, because you have to have one known distance in your triangle.
Yeah, but hang on. It was contrasting against the point that he countered against triangulation, was that he didn't need to be in 2 separate points. And I agree with him. You don't need to be in 2 separate points for the point he's making. So therefore, the counter to his point is that it must be a ball. What's the counter? The counter is, well, there is evidence that shows that it's not a ball, and it has been modeled using flat mechanical devices. So ultimately, it's like, well, if it can be demonstrated and modeled using the alternative, then why would you presuppose either?
No, you do have to be in 2 separate points to do triangulation.
He's not arguing triangulation. He's
But
arguing.
Anthony,
He's arguing.
He is arguing triangulation.
He's not. He's arguing
Anthony, if
frequency.
this machine that you're talking about exists, why isn't it the main staple of the flat Earth argument?
It is. Well, it's one of the arguments that's used. But
You don't even remember the name of the machine.
no, I don't remember. The pronunciation is different. Well, I'm not forgetting the name of it. I'm saying that I might mispronounce it, and don't shoot me for doing so. But the name of the machine is called the Antikythera machine.
Shout out to Tony for the super chat, much obliged. Says thanks for making the show interesting again. I've not done anything.
A clock in the sky, and that clock in the sky is creating and reproducing the frequencies in which you claim that we would see the same thing 12 months later. Okay, I'll give you that, but that doesn't in itself prove anything. It can go either way.
But this machine
I guess, Anthony, if you should be able to link that right now. That machine that you're talking about should be one of the main staples of the flat Earth argument, if it can show how the stars work.
So because of your ignorance, you want me to go and get something to prove my assertion without proving your own assertion first, right? You're making the assertions
Anthony,
originally.
you didn't even know the name of this thing. You've just dropped out a random couple of words.
No. I knew the name.
The machine is
Oh, there's a machine that back in the day used to be able to figure this out.
Anthony, this guy was just about to completely hang himself. I wish now we got to prove the Antikythera machine, which
No, I don't.
it's
I
a
don't.
historical
He hasn't
hoax in all
produced
likelihood, but whatever.
He hasn't produced any evidence for his position, right? So an
He doesn't
surgeon
know
that's
what
not got evidence.
triangulation is. That's the real problem. You can't do triangulation without one.
Mummy,
known
he's not
distance.
arguing triangulation.
Yes,
He's
he
arguing. He's
I
arguing
think the point he's trying to make, or the point Nummy's trying to make, Anthony, is that Josh has come in and asserted that it's a sphere and described a situation where he's measuring to two different stars that are in a triangle from his position. And in order to triangulate, you've got to have a known distance, which he doesn't have. So he's ultimately about to hang himself on his own evidence, which is what he came in with. Now we're on to a different point, which is equally valid, but just not the point that he was about to hang himself with.
Okay. All right, so he did say that he wasn't arguing triangulation now.
No, he didn't. He brought up triangulation several times. I don't know how you can say that he's not arguing triangulation. I asked him to go through the logic of how he arrived at a globe Earth based on that observation. And then he brought up triangulation.
He wasn't triangulating. So maybe I misheard and misunderstood his point. Let's ask him to clarify. So what's your position, Josh? Is it triangulation you're arguing or frequency?
Yeah, no, I'd never said frequency. I'm not even any sure about that. What the first thing that I said when I got here, that you all agreed to, was that if you sat on your comfy chair and looked in the exact same direction, you would see the exact same set of stars in exactly 1 year's time.
So what? That doesn't prove we're on a sphere, Josh. That's our point. And when you tried to take us through it, you just asserted that we're on a sphere and that the stars were going underneath us. Just a presupposition.
No,
You didn't actually link any evidence to it.
I tried to tell you.
There was no logical conclusion.
Stars are different for me and for you tonight. When all you English people go to bed, we will see different stars. And it doesn't matter what they are, because twinkle, twinkle, little star, how I wonder what you are. It doesn't.
But so what? I keep saying it doesn't prove we're on a globe, Josh. It doesn't prove anything.
Yeah, but Nathan, this was my next sort of point or whatever, that after you guys keep doing your long distance photography and you keep getting more and more and more and more, and that's fine, you've got a couple of years left of content, I guess, just for that. At some point, Flat Earth has to actually try and make a model of how all the other stuff works.
No, we don't. Models are pseudoscience, and they are used when there is a limitation on a hypothesis. Pseudoscience models are absolutely not necessary for us to pummel the living daylights out of heliocentricity.
I agree. We don't
models
need
models are religion. We don't need it.
We don't need to prove what the Earth is.
Point again, and that's fine. We're getting off point. But again, could you name one single sticking point that is wrong with the heliocentric model? Just one. Don't kish gallop. One.
Yeah, there's no
Jupiter.
There's no observable curvature.
Jupiter
There's
being
no
visible all year
gravity.
round when it should be on the other side of the sun 6 months of the year.
Sure. You know what? No observable curvature. Sure. The heliocentric world, and I'm pretty sure they'll all agree with me. You're not meant to see it because we're tiny and the world is huge.
Yeah, but boats go over the horizon though, right?
What's that?
But we're tiny and the Earth is huge, but boats go over the horizon, right?
Yeah, of course I do.
Okay, but here's the other thing. There's no evidence for any rotation, and there's lots of evidence for the fact that we're actually stationary.
Yeah, but Nummy, that just sort of proves how stupid you are, because rotation's got nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. What you're doing is just walking down a completely stupid direction.
Well, I'm not arguing the shape of the Earth. You said about a model, and you're saying what's the evidence against the model that we're being presented with? And part of the model we're being presented with is a rotating spherical Earth. The rotating part is actually really important to the model.
So we've got about an hour left on this live stream. I hope you're enjoying the debate thus far. If you're new to the channel, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell notification icon to keep up to date with the Flat Earth debate. If you would like to support this channel, as Tony has just done, be sure to hit the super chat, which runs alongside each of these shows while they're live, or there's a link in the info box below the video once it's rendered. Most importantly though, if you would like to join the discussion, simply mute the page you are currently watching, then click the link in the info box below the video to join the panel and express your views on the shape of the Earth. If you do join, please don't swear. If you do, you'll be ejected, and if you are, please don't try to rejoin the stream using sock accounts. Massive thanks to all who have shared the show. Sharing the show increases the live audience, of course, and this in turn increases the chances of a more diverse panel. So please share the show if you've not done so already. As I say, there is about an hour left on this live stream.
Globe, but now you're arguing that the rotation, which is what presumably would cause that to happen, has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth. So you kind of
you know what, Nummy? I will totally agree to that. If we just snap froze time right now, snap frozen, everything in the universe has stopped moving, based upon people sitting in their comfy chairs all over the planet would be able to determine that we are on a sphere.
No, I don't think so, because nobody would see anything.
We can't determine that we're on a sphere now, because we're not. There's no, the evidence doesn't support the idea that we're on a sphere. That's what we're arguing about.
Right.
There's nothing that you can actually have. You have no evidence other than long-distance photography.
Josh, the evidence is that it's missing evidence. Do you understand that missing evidence is an issue, right? And I'll give you an example, right? You live in Australia. When you look south, you see the southern rotation point, correct?
Correct.
To prove that we live on a ball, you would also need to see another observation point, either in Argentina or in South Africa, of south and seeing the same set of stars, but at a different point of rotation. And guess what evidence you guys do not have? Two observers looking south at the same time and seeing the same set of stars. For all we know, you could be looking what you call south and thinking you're looking at south, but actually you're looking at 5 o'clock on the clock and he's looking at 7 o'clock on the clock, and you're both being told you're looking south. And guess what? You've got an adjustment made to compass south because of something called declination. So where's your south? That's the first thing. That's an absence of evidence, and you have something called declination. So before you go on about the stars being anything, think about that point. Secondly, with regard to the stars, Polaris, you said you wanted to see evidence of Polaris being seen from somewhere other than the north, but the north thingy. Nathan, would you mind presenting my screen, sir?
No, Anthony, why would you say that, Anthony? You asserted that you can see Polaris from the Tropic of Capricorn. Yeah. That's your claim. And then you just try to put it into my words and say, oh, something Polaris, you can see it from something. You said it. You said that you can see Polaris from the Tropic of Capricorn. Please show.
Right. So present my screen, Nath.
Yeah, you're on.
So I've got an article here from and it's some newspaper. I'll get you the citation afterwards, but I'll read what it says. It is sometimes very convenient to have a non-deploon for this. Hang on, let's find the bit I wanted. Here we go. It doesn't highlight. If Tamatia can look up to the London Times of May the 13th, 1862, in the Naval and Military Intelligence, he may read as follows, quote, on the 19th of April in latitude 23, longitude 35. So if you want to plot that on your belief model thing, go Google Earth, you could see that that's not going to be the equator. Captain Wilkins reports that the Southern Cross and the Polar Star were both distinctly visible at midnight. So the only way that would be possible, according to your belief structure, is that you can see that on the equator and only on the equator. Would you like to plot 23 latitude and 35 longitude onto Google Earth and tell me where that takes you, roughly?
Yeah, I'll do it right now. Well, what did you say again? So latitude
2353, longitude 3546.
Just go with 23 and 35. You don't have to be dead exact, but the point is it going to be on the equator or not? And we can tell by the numbers it's not.
23 north or south?
Well, I don't suppose it'd make any difference. You've seen both of them, so you could plot it on both.
But yeah, but you'd want to know. Does it not specify?
No, it doesn't actually. It doesn't say 23. It doesn't say plus or minus, or it doesn't indicate north or south. It just says latitude 23.3. It must be 23 in the north, right? Because otherwise it'd say minus 23, right? Is that right?
No.
Well, no, it'd just say 23 south, wouldn't it?
Depends on which. I don't know. It depends on how they're organising this, how they're representing it from the time, because this is in 1862. They might have had a different system in play. But
okay, so Anthony, I'll give you the opportunity just to back out right now.
No, I want you to demonstrate it on screen. What is the latitude 23 on your globe model? Where does it put you?
Oh, I don't even know. God, I'm going to Google it or something, do I?
Wait, Anthony, unfortunately.
Say that again.
I said if it doesn't specify north or south latitude, then it's kind of...
You can do both, whatever.
Yeah, do both. But the point is...
How does... What? Do what?
If it's in the north, it puts you in Saudi Arabia.
Right. So in the north at Saudi Arabia, you can see the North Star and the Southern Cross distinctly visible at midnight. So whatever the date and time was, this is being reported as evidence that really isn't supporting the Bohr model, because if it was supporting the Bohr model, you shouldn't really see either.
What?
No,
What
actually,
you
do you understand? It is perfectly supporting the Bohr model because, as you said previously, the Southern
No, it
Cross is
isn't.
not
The
at
only
our
way a
celestial.
star observation is ever going to support the globe model is if you presuppose you're on a globe. We've gone through this with you.
Oh, sorry, Nathan. Sorry.
It
I
doesn't
thought
give
someone
an
was going to say.
explanation as to why you would see those two opposites at the same time, really.
But Nathan,
When they should
do
be
you
dead
get-
center at the horizon. So, have any explanation for that?
Could we just quickly for a second assume
Hey,
that
sir.
everyone is in darkness, right? For some reason, the sun stops, and everyone on the whole planet is in darkness, right? Someone who's at the North Pole, directly at the North Pole, if they're looking straight up, they will see just Polaris. We all agree so far?
Yeah.
Okay, good. And as someone who's down directly at the South Pole, they will be looking at Sigma Octantis. And sure, we can't see that with the naked eye. That's okay. But about 15 degrees away, they'll see the Southern Cross, which we can see all the time.
So we're told.
If I live down here, man, I see it all the time.
Your point was at the South Pole, right?
No, what I'm saying is that if two people from top to bottom of our planet started walking towards each other, they would see completely different star fields. And as they got closer and closer and closer and closer, they would start getting closer together. The star fields would start coming together. And then when they got to the middle, at the equator, they would both see the same star field. And that only works on a sphere.
That only works on a sphere if you presuppose you're on a sphere.
No. Nathan, what I've done is I've taken all the observations, and it only ends up working on a sphere.
It ends up working on a model of a sphere, doesn't make the Earth that you stand on a sphere. I don't know how many times we've got to say it. You've not taken us through the logical connection between what you observe and that actually translating into definitive proof of sphericity. It doesn't. You just said, well, it went underneath us because we're on a sphere. That's a presupposition, Josh.
Well, okay, Nathan. Okay, you're right. I'm sorry. But why then? Why can't you see the Southern Cross at night?
Too far away.
Too far away.
Yeah.
Don't really.
And that's why I can't see Polaris at night.
It's not really necessary for us to even answer that because.
Sure, I mean, it means nothing in terms of the argument sphere or globe Earth, but if you just want a simple answer, it's just too far away. But it has nothing to do with sphere or globe Earth, globe or flat Earth. You're right, Nummy.
Yeah.
I think actually, Nathan, you got to get rid of this Nummy guy. He doesn't really help you very much.
So I have a question for you. If you're so certain as to what these stars supposedly are, then why, when you go up really high, why do these stars completely vanish from view? Why did even NASA footage that they use, and well, we are suspecting they are even doctoring the actual sphere Earth footage in some way, but why do they never ever show stars? Why is there no star footage on the moon landing pictures? Why is there no star footage on the actual pictures of the Earth? And why are there no stars visible in very high altitude balloon footage?
Now, Arwen, do you actually want to know, or will you just start talking nonsense?
Yeah,
because if you actually want to know, it's because the atmosphere gets thinner and thinner and thinner and thinner. And that tiny, tiny little pinpoint of light, instead of it like blasting through millions of years of vacuum and light and space or whatever, instead of it being able to just zang straight into your eye, it doesn't have enough stuff to like hit on the way through. It's this tiny
that
little
is the most nonsensical thing I've
No, is he not therefore proving that the ether must exist, right?
No, he's talking that you can't see it without the effects of scintillation, right? That,
No, I don't know what that word, why you're saying that, but I'm just talking about the atmosphere, right? Because, and I've heard you talk about this before, you can only see light, right, when it's interacting with something.
Yeah, your eyes.
It must exist then,
Your
right?
eyes.
No. Yeah, but it's with something else.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, the light is traveling all the way across the universe from one supergiant sun towards our Earth, and you're saying, oh, you can only see it when you're in the atmosphere. That makes a lot of damn sense. That it could actually travel through space, but while it's in space, you can't actually see it.
Yeah, basically he's saying that if there's no twinkling, that we wouldn't be able to see it. But the technical term for twinkling is scintillation in the field of astronomy. And so you're saying that if the pinpoint of light is enlarged by its interactions in all directions with the air, and that's what makes it visible. But that's actually really preposterous. That really makes
so why could you then still use telescopes like Hubble up in space outside of the atmosphere to actually see all of that?
you know that Hubble doesn't actually like try and record like visible light. Maybe not Hubble, but like the big major telescopes. They're trying to record infrared light and
they're
things.
so-called in space. Any of them.
Anyway, I got a bit sidetracked.
Wouldn't really work then, really.
You guys have ever been to a gig, right? Like you've been to a gig. And just a brief side note, I'm a lighting guy, right? I light up bands for a living. It's a rad job. But you guys have ever been to a gig and you see a beam of light coming down on someone. And you must know that there's a smoke machine, there's a hazer in the room that fills the room with particles so that you can see like a beam of light. Otherwise, the only way you're going to see a light is if it's pointing directly at your face. But if you're at a rock show...
Is that what we're seeing? We're seeing the sides of the beams of light, and that's what the star is? No, I don't think so. You're actually looking at the light source, according to the heliocentric concept. Yeah. You're looking at the actual lamp. You're looking at the lamp, not at some lit up atmospheric beam.
We're looking at the light source coming through a whole bunch of particles of nitrogen and oxygen.
When you look at the night sky, you don't see a bunch of beams. Stop being ridiculous. You see the lights. You see the source, whatever it may be.
I never said that, Alan. Why would you just say that? I never said that.
Well, you just brought it up. It's ridiculous.
No, I'm trying to make it easier for you to understand because obviously you're not understanding.
Thank you. I have so much trouble understanding your complete nonsense.
But you can only ever see light when it's directly entering your eye. Do you agree or not agree?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can only see light when it enters your eye. Yes, light that does not enter your eye is not going to be something that you see.
Okay, sure. So if there is light, let's just say that we're looking across a long distance and there's a lighthouse way over there on the right and it's pointing at a rock way over there on the left. Is it possible that that rock can be lit up and you can't see the beam between the two? Is that a possibility?
That's very unlikely. Actually.
No, that's totally possible.
Now, look, if you're very far away and there's a lighthouse, then there is a chance you will see the actual lamp because it has a reflector behind it. It's very strong. But things being lit up by that lamp at a very great distance, that's not very likely, actually. It's a lot dimmer over the distance.
That's not what he asked,
but the actual light source you can see.
That's not what he asked, Erwin. He said, could you see the beam between the light source and the target object on which the light is falling? And I'm saying, depending on the conditions, if there's fog or some sort of particles, smoke in the air, something like that.
It depends on the distance. If the distance is very fast, then it becomes increasingly more difficult to see things lit up, like the air, whatever it may be, mist, or even a target being lit up by the lamp beam. That's going to be a lot harder over distance. It becomes fuzzy. Even in a dead night, even if there is no starlight or moonlight, it'll become harder to see. But the actual source will be very visible much longer.
Yeah, but Arwen, he's talking about being able to see the light beam from the side, right?
That it depends on how close you are.
No, it doesn't depend on how close you are. It depends on if there's anything in the air for the light to reflect off.
Yeah, but
of.
even if there is something in the air, then still depends on how close you are. Because if you're very far away, you're still not going to see that. You're just going to see a giant fog.
Well, I think it has a lot more to do with the composition of the air than it has to do with distance. I don't know. I don't see
Both.
In any case, you know what? We've got sidetracked here because you still haven't explained to us the logic of how your observation from your comfy chair from year to year logically proves that we're on a globe. You still have avoided walking us through that. So I'm still curious to know how you've arrived at that conclusion based on that observation. Because I think that's the important point here, right? Like, you've claimed that you have proof of the globe. That's what we're always asking for. You've come in and you've claimed that you've proved the globe, but but what you don't want to do is actually explain your proof. You're just like, yeah, sit in a chair 1 year and then come back the next year, same thing, proof, that's a globe. But we don't understand. I don't understand how you're seeing that as proof. So I want you to explain to me all the logical steps in your own mind that make you arrive at that conclusion based on that observation.
Okay, nummy. So you're in your comfy chair, right? You've seen these stars. And let's just say that your comfy chair is on top of your house and you can see the whole horizon. And let's just say as well that there's one particular star that is about 1 degree off the horizon. Now, if you, or actually, let's just keep you in the same spot, but you call one of your mates, and one of your mates is down the road, and he is, let's say, 100 miles away, and he's in his own comfy chair doing the exact same observation. You guys aren't seeing all the same stars. He will see a little bit more on the horizon in one way, and a little bit less on the horizon in the other way.
Yeah, it's slightly rotated.
That's brilliant. Hold on, Arwin. So from there, how do we get to the sphere?
You keep doing it, Nathan. You keep doing it.
Sorry, that would just be the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again. We've done it. I've got you. Result. Yeah. Do you want me to repeat it back to you? I'm in one location, on a comfy chair, looking at a star. My mate's 100 kilometres away. He's looking at a star, but it's in a slightly different position, closer to the horizon, presumably, in your example. Got it completely. Now, how do I get from that to sphere?
Well, okay. Now, I mean, this is probably going to be a big stretch, but you need another friend. You need one more friend, another 100 miles away. And then let's even say like you got
people all over the earth every 100 miles. Everybody's seeing everything at a slightly different angular relation. So what's your point now? Where do we get to the sphere?
Well, because if you actually triangulated all of those comfy chairs...
but you can't, because you don't have any literal distance.
Hold on, Arwin. Let's just hear it. Arwin, hold on. Let's just hear him say what he's got to say.
He is right, though.
Yeah, but I want to hear Josh actually say it.
Making this,
I just want to hear his whole logic. I want to hear the whole conversation, how he gets from these observations to this conclusion.
Okay, sure. So we've made our comfy chair moment, right? We've got our mate 100 miles, and let's just say we started at the North Pole and we're going 100-mile increment down the 0 latitude line, whatever it is. We're just heading towards the equator and then to the South Pole. All of us will keep seeing a certain set of stars, but when we call our friends, they're going to be saying, oh, no, we can't see that. Oh, what about that one? Can you see that big, bright yellow one on the horizon? He's going to say, no, I can't see that.
We got all that. We got all that from when you explained it the first time. Sorry, Josh. We've got all that. We got it. I repeated it back to you. So from there to sphere, where's the connection?
Well, there's no other shape. There is actually...
So, in other words, you just have to presuppose you're on a sphere at that point. Right. So, you're just saying, there's no other shape it can only be. Well, saying it can only be, that's called a presupposition.
No, Nathan.
You're clearly an idiot, Josh, if you don't understand that by saying it's the only shape it can be, that is by definition a presupposition. Clearly, you are retarded if you don't understand that. Why am I wasting my time explaining this again and again and again? Saying it's the only shape simply means you are presupposing that to be the shape. There's no connection here between your crappy star observation and us actually being on a bloody sphere. You just presuppose it by saying it's the only shape it can be, man.
Don't talk over him. Come on.
That's a bit rich coming from you, Arwin.
No, he's right. He was doing what Rumpus does while Nathan's chatting. He's literally doing what Rumpus does in the background. It's not really acceptable.
It doesn't understand what a presupposition is. If he's just going to say it's the only shape it can be, that is the definition of a presuppositional argument. It can only be that shape. So we're going to start with that shape then, right, moron?
Well, let's get him. No, let's see if he can explain why that's the only possible shape. Because like we can just keep chasing this thing down to the molecules, right? Like let's just see where this goes. Okay, so why is the sphere
I'm not saying it's the only possible shape. I'm saying it's the shape.
Okay, good.
You just did. You just.
So if it's not the only possible shape, then it is absolutely in no way proof of the sphere then, if there are other possible shapes that could explain this.
Yes.
Right, so why have you brought it up as a proof of the globe and asserted for the last half an hour that this proves the sphericity of Earth?
Nathan, I'm not presupposing a globe.
Yeah, by saying it's the only shape, you are dumb. You are literally thick. If you don't understand by stating that it's the only shape it can be, it means by definition we start with that shape. We presuppose that shape, you complete retard.
No, Nathan, I didn't. I never said that.
Yeah, you did. You said it's the only shape it can be. How deluded are you? I'm going to explain for the fourth time that if you presuppose that to be the shape by saying it's the only shape it can be, it is by definition a presuppositional position to take. You're already asserting we're on a sphere.
Nathan, don't do that moron thing. It's okay. It's okay. I'm not saying that I'm presupposing that. I'm saying that if we start taking observations, all we're doing is taking observations from our comfy chair at one moment in time. And when we map all of that out to triangulate to our comfy chair, it ends up being...
We've heard it 4 times and it proves nothing, like we asserted at the beginning. Just asserting it over and over again. It's just... Why didn't I spot it the first time? Rinse and repeat. Just say the same shite 5 times like it'll actually mean something different. Well, it is. It's the same rinse and repeat garbage over and over again. So we've got to the point that we've proved it doesn't prove the shape. You have to presuppose it, which is the first thing I said to you, Josh. And you just keep saying, I sit in my comfy chair and I look at the stars. You're deluded.
Right, let me ask Josh a question. You started off by saying if we take the observations of the stars, let's start with a common ground that we can both agree on. Do you agree, yes or no, that the stars appear to slow down as they get towards the horizon?
Sure. A tiny little bit.
Sure. Now, is that consistent with the rotation of the Earth? Because if the Earth was rotating, none of the stars would appear to slow down towards the horizon.
Now, of course, because the rotation of the Earth obviously is a rotation of the...
See, that's called a presupposition. You've done it again, Josh. Because of the rotation, that statement is a presuppositional statement. So you're already asserting that we're rotating. It seems clear that you don't understand what a presupposition is.
Nathan, why aren't you yelling at Anthony right now?
No, I'm yelling at you for saying because we are turning. That is the definition again of a presupposition. You are stating that we are turning. That is not the case. Now, if you're going to take us through some example of the stars being in movement because we are turning, after declaring that we are turning, that's the basis of a presupposition. How many times have I got to say it, you dumbass?
Nathan, calm down.
I'm not in the slightest bit annoyed, Alan. I'm just pointing out to a dumbass that he doesn't understand what a presupposition is. And he continually uses presuppositional arguments. No matter how many times I say to him that by immediately assuming your outcome, and a statement like because we are spinning is an assumption of the outcome, that is the basis of a presupposition.
It's getting kind of tiresome hearing
Yeah.
the same thing over and over and
Having
over
to repeat
again.
the same crap to the same
That's just
idiots
Nathan
again and
saying the
again.
same thing over and over and over again.
No, you're making the same thing. You're describing the
I
same
agree
things
with Owen.
over and over again. Like, we don't understand. We do understand. You don't have to talk slowly. You don't have to share it more elaborately. We get your point, and we're telling you why it doesn't make any sense because you're presupposing a lot.
I get. Hey, Arwen, that's cool. And actually, I feel like I've gotten further with you than anyone else before, because last time we were talking about gravity, and you agreed with that. But anyway, I don't even want to go there.
I agree to the downward acceleration force that I stubbornly
Yeah,
call gravity.
that was me who you were talking to when we came up with the downward acceleration force. How do you, though, reconcile the Southern Star rotation? How does that work in your brain?
It's very simple. I immediately abandon all physical literalism assumption bias, the heavens, and say, hey, it is an optical phenomena, and we see it as a globe over us, and it has angular relations in accordance to the position of the Earth that has been well mapped out, even by the ancients. It looks to us like a globe spinning around us. It has nothing to do with the shape of the Earth.
Now, this, though, Arwen, like, funnily enough, this is what I was talking about earlier, that flat earthers actually have no imagination. Because if you draw that to a logical conclusion, you have to assume that the Earth was created by someone to fool the entire population that they were on a sphere.
Yeah,
No,
I agree to that.
No, it does not prove.
Arwen, I love getting places with you, man. So you actually
nothing has fooled you into thinking you're on a sphere. We just took you through the logic of it, Josh. It wasn't that you were fooled into believing that you were on a sphere. You presupposed that you were on a sphere. No one was fooled. You fooled yourself because you don't understand what presupposition is.
No, I get his point, but he's getting philosophical about it. And
the point is
it's
ridiculous.
very simple in my philosophical opinion. If I could just sidetrack for just a moment, then yes, the designer, the creator of this world, whatever this world may be, did design it to make it not so obvious as to what it is, to test us.
Okay, let's not go there. There's no
It's
proof.
purely
of
philosophical. It has nothing to do with any science.
Speculation. And you know what? He's just trying to derail the conversation away from the fact that he cannot support his assertion that he made initially. Right?
You mean the assertion that Anthony made that he can see Polaris from the Tropic of Capricorn?
No, that came afterwards when you asserted that you sitting in a lazy boy and then a mate sitting in a lazy boy, although that came afterwards, would in some way actually prove your presuppositional argument, and it doesn't.
It totally does, Nathan. Like we all just agreed that we can see the same stars every year from a comfy chair.
Yes, we did.
And all of those stars triangulate to our comfy chair. And if we triangulate all of them, we end up on a sphere.
Josh,
that's it.
Josh, you just used the word triangulate, right? This is where I agree with Arwen. If you're going to triangulate something, you need to know either their actual size or their actual distance, and you know neither. All you get is a scale.
Are you okay? Okay. So you're trying to say to me that you can't triangulate yourself?
No,
you can't triangulate yourself on the Earth.
I'm saying to you that if you're going to triangulate any of the one stars that you're pointing at, and you're going to use your mate down the road to do so, to actually triangulate it correctly, you need to know the actual size or the actual distance, because it depends on whether we're on a sphere or whether we're on a flat plane. It opens up the angle.
Can we just keep this super simple just for a second? Triangulate yourself. If you go down to the high street,
brought up the word triangulation.
And I'm going to keep saying it. But if you go down to High Street and if you point your left finger at, what do you got over there? You got boots?
Unless you know the distance or the size, you can't triangulate. It stops there.
No, what?
Yes.
What are you even talking about now?
We're talking about triangulation and how it actually works.
Triangle.
Okay, why don't we pull up a definition of triangle? Can someone... Like let
him do it. Let him do it. He's the one that's using the word. Let him bring up the definition for triangulation.
Yeah. You show us where triangulation means something that what you're saying.
I'm not even going to, because I can't believe that you guys don't actually understand what I'm trying to say. I can't
Okay,
believe
someone's got to do it then, because we got to show this guy that he doesn't even know what triangulation is. Because I think this is your problem, dude. I think that you've gotten confused about what you're observing because you don't actually understand what triangulation is. So
Okay, if you right now, if you stand up in the middle of your room, just stand up, nummy num, and look in the middle of your room. If you look at the exact corner of your room, one of the corners, and then point your other finger at one of the other corner roof points in that room, there will only be one single moment in space and time where your angles of your fingers and your left-right fingers will be pointing to those bits. If you take one step in any direction, that will not be the same again. You follow what I'm saying.
That's not triangulation.
Yeah, you know what? Actually, Nummy, now he said it like that, it's convinced me. Your room that you're stood in is absolutely spherical, Nummy.
I actually think he's trolling. I don't think he's sincere. I think he's got Paul Voigt that's trained him, and I think he's literally trolling.
Why do you guys go to that stuff so quickly?
Because we have a lot of experience with trolls, so we know what we know it when we see it, right? I mean, we've given you way more than the benefit of the doubt than you really deserve, but at a certain point, we can just see when someone repeated themselves and you refuse to argue the logic. You refuse to
provide evidence
of your argument, and you refuse to show evidence of your assertion. So
could I just have one quick little moment, one quick little aside
and strategy to the
one quick aside to Alan B. Alan B, am I talking nonsense?
No, they just argue from the point that everybody else is wrong and they've got nothing. You're probably wasting your time.
So you think that Alan, do you agree with his description of triangulation?
I don't agree with anything you say, so.
Okay, so your position is that anything I say is automatically wrong. So if I say
yes, you're always wrong. You're rude. So there you go.
I'm not rude. When have I ever been rude?
You were rude to somebody yesterday. You called them an idiot. You said they weren't an engineer. You called them a liar.
Well, I was just stating the facts, Alan. Sorry.
No, you don't know the facts.
No, I do know
the facts.
Okay, well, I would be willing to bet.
You made baby Jesus cry because you're a liar.
Okay. Well,
you're a liar.
What have I lied about?
You said he wasn't an engineer.
Ignore him.
No
He's trolling
evidence that he wasn't.
It's just trolling this. Alan's trolling now. Picked up the baton.
He's the resident troll. No, that guy's not an engineer because an engineer wouldn't say.
Because what? You say so.
No, because he didn't have the kind of basic understanding of the terminology of engineering.
Who are you? Who are you to judge anybody?
Well, I've done quite a bit of research on the topics that we were discussing.
You've watched a few YouTube videos.
No.
That's as far as it goes.
No, I've read many books and I've watched probably over 1,000 YouTube videos.
Sorry, did you say, who are you to judge somebody?
Get your free badge.
Was that your question, Alan? Who are you to judge?
Yes.
I'll judge whoever I like. I'll judge you. I'm judging you right now.
Judge me.
Judge me, Nate. That's precisely what I'm doing. I stated it before you asked me to do it. I stated that I was judging you and am judging you right now.
Oh, wow.
What are you going to do about it?
The other point is, Alan, would you agree that in this topic we are our own judge?
Correct. I'll judge everything around me to do with people, my surroundings, my earth. I'll be the judge, Alan.
Yes, and you'll probably die alone.
I'm married with a child, so I doubt that.
I'll not die alone. There'll be me and Nathan will be sat there with drum and hookers and cocaine, and I'll be digging his hole if he dies.
Okay.
There you go, Alan. Do you live alone, Alan?
That was actually pretty funny, Anthony.
Yeah, I thought so.
Yes. Alan, and how dare you call me rude? I'm not rude. I give everyone.
To be fair, you were a little bit rude. I'll agree with Alan on that.
Oh God, this is going to descend fast. I can just sense it.
That doesn't mean that I class you as rude all the time, but on that one instance, he did cite some proofs that were credible, in my opinion.
What proofs did he
well
cite
done,
that
Alan.
were credible? Are you
well
crazy?
done, Alan. Mission achieved.
He had absolutely nothing. The guy is not an engineer, Anthony.
Yeah, but there were better ways to do it.
That guy's an engineer? You think that guy's an engineer who came in here and didn't know the difference between a volume and a surface area? You think an engineer wouldn't understand the difference between volume?
But that's the difference between a scientist and a technician, right? Or an engineer.
No engineer would. No person would get past the first semester of an engineering program without understanding.
How would you know?
He was probably a car technician or something.
No,
Grease monkey.
a car technician is not an engineer.
Yeah, I know.
So I don't see what you're even arguing, Anthony. I'm rude for saying the guy's not an engineer when he's clearly not an engineer. He's lying. He's coming in saying,
let me explain. This might be an American English thing. Generally, we understand what rude is, and it's generally being quite curt. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean that you understand the same thing that we mean, but I'm with Alan. You were quite rude with him the other day, but that doesn't mean I think you're rude. I just thought that you were in that instance.
I'm not being rude by stating the facts. Sorry. The guy, I'm just calling a spade, okay? I'm saying this guy comes in here, demonstrates that he doesn't have the understanding of the most basic level of terminology that would be required to be an engineer.
And you're not to judge. You're not an engineer either.
I am to judge.
You're not an engineer, are you?
No, I'm not an engineer. And that's exactly
what did you study
my point.
at school?
Hey, what up?
Hey, sir.
Hey, sir, don't get the guitar out.
Oh, damn it. Well, yo,
Yeah.
I just wanted to point something out.
Why wouldn't he get his guitar out? Let me get this right. Have you just judged him on his guitar playing ability? How dare you? How dare you be so judgmental? How dare you?
Nathan, it's a
Thank you, Nathan. Get him. Get him, Nathan.
It's a non-running joke. You wouldn't get it.
So we can all be our own judge, right, Alan? Is that all cool, right?
Check this out, though. Just to make to save face for the engineer cat. It's like I know a guy who does shipping, or he maps shipping stuff, like charts the courses. He gave me this great book that I have and I cherish dearly, and he's a good friend of mine. The thing is, he like maps boats for shipping, and he didn't know. He actually questioned me and wanted verification on whether or not we find our latitude based on the altitude of Polaris.
Yeah, but he's not.
Well, now the point is that, like that to us, because we're so familiar with the topic and all the rest, it's not part of his trade. So, like, for the gentleman to have made the faux pas the other day is just I just wanted to make the point. And that's all I'm doing. I'm a little busy over here, but just that the gentleman, he apparently knows his stuff, and actually he came on Flat Earth Court and we had a good discussion with him over there. So I think just to be fair to the gentleman, he to call him, just to say that some people who are in the field may not have the technical definitions. That's all.
I just can't agree. And I think that, Anthony, it's actually rude of you to say that I'm being rude for calling out the facts. So I think...
I'm not, by the way.
And I think calling out Anthony for calling you rude is pretty
don't
rude.
Appreciate this accusation when I'm just stating the simple facts of the matter here, okay? It's not rude.
Listen back to what you
said. We don't have proof.
No, it is not rude for me to point out that the fact that the guy doesn't have a first-year understanding of the subject that he claims to be.
And you're not an engineer, you can't judge.
It's not.
Yeah, Nummy, what are your qualifications, Nummy? Right, like how much physics did you do in high school?
Point. I don't even have any
qualifications.
Yeah, but
Well, how about
know
this?
how to recognize it.
All right, so you
guys,
think
just to keep it moving forward. How come we could see this? Is something that always fascinated me. We could see the southern crux from 26 degrees north latitude, but how do we see it over the equatorial bulge? It's fascinating when you look into it. But with that, gentlemen, good day, and I shall see you soon.
Thanks, Isa, for that number, 26 degrees. Okay, so it turns out you can see Crux, which is the Southern Cross, from 26 degrees north of the equator, because Crux is 26 degrees off the South Celestial Pole.
Well, no, it's actually at 60 degrees. Well, you're roughly at 60 degrees. Actually, it's at 60 degrees south.
30,
Southern
right?
Crux is visible from no, it's visible at 60 degrees south, if I'm not mistaken.
No, it's visible from everywhere south.
Well, forgive me, yeah, but located like it's in roughly what's considered off of the celestial sphere, 60 degrees south, right?
No, I wouldn't go with that. It's quite near the center of rotation. I would have said 30 degrees.
No, it's at 60 degrees. The thing is that
60 degrees.
0 is the equator.
I said
0
that
is
right
the
at the
equator,
beginning.
and it goes down to 90. That's all.
I did say that right at the beginning. It's about 60 or might be 70.
Bless you.
Anthony. But
did we give a shout out to the non-engineer engineer, maybe an engineer, unorthodox? Because it'd be nice to actually get his name in, as we've just spent 10 minutes talking about him.
No, not really.
But yeah, the guy we were talking about was unorthodox. That's the YouTuber who was on yesterday.
Yeah,
And just to clarify, Numi, I didn't say that I agreed with Alan completely. I just said that some of the points that he brought up yesterday were fair. That doesn't mean I agree with him overall.
all right. I'll
Like,
forgive.
hey,
some of the
Anthony,
points I would
Anthony, have you got that like proof of seeing the Polaris from the Tropic of Capricorn yet? Because that's one of those things that like Eric Dubay says, and that's a big deal. Okay, you can't just reference
you've got
Eric
your own evidence.
Dubay.
You know that it's there. Why are you asking me for it? You're the one making the claims here. I just counted with there are reports that. I didn't say that you could.
Hey,
I said there are reports that.
What? No, what? You
I
said
said
you're
there are
certain.
I said there are reports that Polaris can be seen as far south as the Tropic of Capricorn. That appears to be
Anthony,
true.
don't make me cut this, go back through this whole thing and find
Don't
the
do it.
spot that you said
Don't do
that
it.
and make a video of you
That's what I
denying
said.
it.
There are reports that. That's what I said. Whether
Right,
it's
so
true or
you
not,
don't believe it then?
I don't know. I don't know what's true.
But you're going to claim it, even if you don't believe it.
There
Is
are
that where you're
reports
at?
that.
What's that drunk Australian guy who comes on here sometime?
What was?
No, was the Glober guy, the really drunk guy.
Oh, Jazzaconda.
Oh yeah, I think this guy Josh is actually the sober Jazzaconda.
No, I think it's a
Here we
sober
go
Paul
with the
Voigt.
insults again.
Yeah, hey, Nummy, have you ever said anything smart in your life? Go on right now.
There's
Say
a lot
one
of
smart
things, but you can also get very rude.
No, just go.
Annoying.
Just go, Nummy, right now. Say something smart. Just an exhale of air. Oh, okay, that's cool.
You don't need to patronize him. He is plenty of smart.
What are you doing sticking up for him, Arwin?
Hey, I will criticize him, but I'll also give compliments where compliments are due, and Nami is pretty smart.
Hey, you've never given me a compliment once, Arwin. What's going on
But
there?
because you're an idiot.
Hey,
No, you're
that
great.
is
No,
that
you
is
took
pretty
my
funny.
comment.
But hey, Arwen, could you step in for him? Could you quote for me now one smart thing, one thing that you've heard Nummy say that you like agree with, and you think,
Hold
yeah,
on. Yo, Nummy is good people, man. Nummy is good people, and he's actually made real great inquiries, and he has a good eye for a lot of things. I may disagree.
Okay, Isa, bam,
but
firing
Nummy's
line.
good people,
You
man.
you say it, man. Tell me one thing that he's said to you that you thought, man, that was smart.
Sound
I know
effect
that
is
I've
evidence.
been
That'll do
impressed
for me.
about the way I've been impressed on private calls looking at footage with Nummy, and I've been impressed with
Sound
the way
effect is evidence. That's good enough. For
Well,
me.
no. But aside, I'm not going to get into
Don't
that.
even
but
take debate on this. Who
I'm
cares?
saying I've had
Say,
great
why are we into this?
discussions
You're
with
just
Nummy,
pandering
and he's
to his ad
worthy of-
hominem.
Worthy of the discussion. So big up to Nummy, man.
Thank you, but we don't need to go here with this guy. He's just dodging.
Well, I want you to know Nummy too.
No, this is part of the usual cycle. We've gone from crap evidence to being absolutely pummeled to ad hom attacks now with, we've got Alan fanning the flames. It's just crazy. Hey, Mike, how you doing? Good to have you.
I love all these people, including Arwen, however much he, needs to. He uses me to take
I
out-
like Arwen because he's always right.
Yeah, me too.
What's up, Arwen? Or Alan?
Isa, get in the sea.
What?
Overboard. I love you. I'll be back. Bless, man. Nummy, you're good. Yeah.
I'm still learning to participate in this kind of a forum because I find it, a challenge. I think it's a skill to have a discussion in a group online. That it's not like having a normal conversation. You have to learn the dynamics of it, and it's quite different. And so, I'm still just trying to find.
Nummy. Hey, say something smart.
Everything I say is smart. All right.
Nah, not everything, but most of the things you say are smart.
Not most things I say are smart?
No, I said not everything, but most of the things.
Oh, okay.
And I really liked your digging work into diffraction what you posted in the masturbators chat was very interesting, although it was very late for me, so I didn't really respond to all of it.
Yeah.
But Nami brings up really good research all the time.
Could someone stop giving me just examples of him doing it and actually give me an example of
Josh.
him doing it?
Can we just stop playing this silly game? Who cares?
Josh.
Alan.
Josh, you just
Alan.
lost a huge. Josh, you just lost a huge argument.
Alan.
Josh.
Alan.
Josh.
Okay, these guys are whining.
Josh.
But
You have anything more constructive to add, Josh?
Josh, you should look into Numi's research into CGI ospreys. It's amazing.
it is amazing. I'm very proud of it. But anyway, Josh, I want to tell you something. I just owned you in a big debate. You know. So
when was I there?
you haven't said one intelligent thing since you got on here. Not even one. All you've said was completely silly nonsense, and you've absolutely refused to back up anything that you've said. So I'm not the one who needs to defend my intelligence here. You are. You just
You don't even know how triangulation works. You have a lot of presumptions about spheres.
You don't know what
that's it.
triangulation is. You don't even know what triangulation is, and yet you're citing it as evidence. So I'm just saying, I'm not the one who needs to defend my intelligence quotient. I mean, you don't.
It all turns out that you guys don't think that triangulation has anything to do with triangles. That's your problem, not mine.
Now, your oversimplified approach proves that you don't understand it at all. Because we've been trying to explain to you what makes triangulation, and you haven't given us any kind of response that proves that you even understand what we were talking about.
Didn't
No
I give
confirmation,
you?
you're just
Didn't I give
rambling
you
on, regurgitating the same straw man nonsense.
Basic sitting in a comfy chair, pointing your fingers at stars responses.
Yeah, it's
Isn't
a
that-
very
isn't-
nice
is-
story, but it doesn't really prove you really understand it.
Was that too simple for you? It was too simple. You couldn't quite get it because
No,
it was
it doesn't
just
have
too
any
easy.
valid content. It's just a story.
Right, can I just
How-
interject? You know-
Arwen, can I just get you quite quickly? You agreed early on, very early on in this debate, that sitting in the chair.
Here we go, rinse and repeat time. So we're going to hear for the 4th time, 5th time, 6th time that if we sit in a comfy chair and we look at the stars, only for us to take you through it again that it's a presuppositional position that you're taking with absolutely no logical steps made to actually connect this to us being on a sphere.
Oh, Nathan, are you coming in to save Arwen? Because you know that he can't.
No, I'm not coming in to save Arwen. I'm saying that you are rinsing and repeating the same garbage for about the 6th time on this show. It doesn't matter how many times you repeat the same crap. It's not going to make any sense in terms of the sphericity it's not proving.
Could I ask a question?
Go ahead.
Mike.
I was just wondering why on the equator, if you're looking out, you see Polaris and it's literally on the horizon. But when you go to the North Pole, it's straight above you at 90 degrees. I have an explanation for that, but do you guys?
Yeah, it's
Sorry,
relative to your position.
who's going to the North Pole now?
It doesn't matter who, it's common knowledge.
I'm sorry, did you say you'd been to the North Pole?
Cool.
No, I
So what's this common knowledge thing that you're talking about?
Hi, Tim.
Do you know what common knowledge means?
Yeah, I understand that people often assert that if you go to the North Pole and lie on your back, that Polaris will be above you, but no one's actually ever done it that I've spoken to, so that's why I'm asking if you've done it, and you're telling me it's common knowledge.
Well, it does seem to be that the North Pole star is a little bit higher up when you go to the northern regions of, say, Norway, northern Russia, those areas, Canada. It does get up higher.
What is so weird is that Arwen is, in terms of how insane that man is, he is the most sane person on this planet.
Wow, it's such an important judgment, man.
Right, Josh, I'm gonna give you a link that's in the side chat, and what I want you to look at is the trigonometry point that was brought
You're
up.
muffled,
in it.
Anthony.
Pardon?
Can hardly hear you, muffled.
You're muffed, Tony. You're muffed.
I'll come back 1 sec.
Hey, I don't really know how to do that either. I don't know about side chats and things.
Yeah. But anyway, I explained to you with a different approach. It doesn't presume the Earth is a sphere. Why all those elements would be, and that is that the globe of the heavens is a globe that is observable at the edge of vision in relation to the observer for each observer on the world, whatever its shape may be. And it has very specific relations, angular relations, to the position of the Earth. And that is, if you go north, go to the antiquator in the north, then Polaris will be above you. If you go to the equator, then it will be roughly at the horizon. And that's it. Doesn't prove the shape, just proves the globe of the heavens.
Arwen, like, you've got 2 points of data right there. What you got to do is fill out all the points of data in between.
Right. Could I have like the academia?
No, I don't like to fill in blanks with unknowns and presumptions.
Did I say that?
Heavens is
You
just
said that.
speculation, right?
What I'm saying is make observations in between those 2 points.
Yeah, it's nice. Yeah, you can see all these things. It's really interesting, but I'm not going to draw presumptuous conclusions from those.
No one's saying draw presumptuous conclusions. That was all you. You just said them. What you could do is, you're up in the Netherlands or something, right? You could go as far north as you can, and you can see where Polaris is, and figure out, like, find out the angle off the horizon it is, and then you can go as far south as you can. You don't ever even need to leave the landmass.
Yeah, I know, because there's a very specific angular relation of the position of the globe of the heavens and the position on the Earth.
What is the
So
globe
you
of the
believe
heavens?
there's a globe of the heavens?
Yes.
Where can I read about this?
Night
to the globe of
vision.
the Earth.
It's very visibly like a globe.
Josh.
Anthony, thank you. Please save me.
I've just sent you a link in the side chat prior to me reloading. What you need to do with regards to the triangulation point that you keep mentioning is watch that video, because what it nicely does is makes the point that Red's rhetoric makes, that he makes the same point that you do, that is, you can prove anything like looking at the moon in this case it was, by triangulating your position, which is essentially your position, right? You're saying that about sitting in your armchair and getting your mate down the road and doing the triangulation. But if you make the maths, change the maths that we're not on a sphere.
No, Anthony, I'm so sorry. I don't mean to cut you off, but you did this to me like an hour ago. You were trying to make it out that I was saying that the base points of the triangle were me and myself somewhere else on the planet, me and my mate or something. That's not what I was saying.
What you were saying, you were talking about your mate down the road and at different positions.
No, I was saying that I am one of the points of the triangle, and if I use my left finger and my right finger to point at 2 stars, we can make a triangle.
Ooh.
And we triangulate to my comfy chair.
Yeah, but you can only do it with one eye closed, can't you? Because there's something like 3D.
Yeah, but you're not going to get any of the distances because you need to know 3 of the.
I don't know. I don't need to know any distances.
Yeah, you can't triangulate. Yeah, you do.
All you guys have been talking about distances.
Dude, if you get the 3 angles inside a triangle, it doesn't give you the size of the triangle.
And with that, I'm going to say first and foremost, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the debating panel for making this debate possible. And of course, a huge, massive, enormous thank you to all of the live audience for tuning in and hopefully sharing this debate. If you've not done so already, be sure to like, comment, share and subscribe. I've been Nathan Oakley and I will see you all in the next video.
Oh, what a day! What a lovely day!